Okay, we got outdoors edition again, and this is going to be a long one as well, so I'm going to be here a while. And if I remember correctly, there's a lot of mumbo jumbo, so let's just rattle through it. And I'm very tired, sleep deprived, suicidal as all hell right now. My God, I want to be dead. Yeah. Anyway, we might get on that later if I wrote about it. I can't remember. Right. Number one, the reason subjective experience is the only thing that matters is colon. Is because of your colon. No matter what reality really is, it always passes through the filter of your perception, or, well, the filter of you, I suppose. It's I think, therefore I am, not I think you think, therefore you are. Nope, it's just rubbish. Oh yeah, I guess the whole travelling faster than the speed of light thing is very similar to perpetual motion machines, really. So that it's I accept that it's stupid to even try to think about it, but I feel I need to disprove it to myself. Anyway, but ultimately the reason it didn't work, the reason I think I proved it myself wrong, is because the reason the moon laser idea doesn't work is because you could just as easily fire two lasers from the same point on Earth, one to P1 and one to P2, and the same amount of information about P1 is known to P2, and vice versa. What if you had three receivers, which the Earth beam passes over all three in a series, and when the second receives the beam from P1, it causes the Earth beam to be blocked from getting to P3. Obviously there would be a delay of magnitude 1. Okay, so I don't even know what I was talking about anymore, but I know it was wrong. Good. I wanted to do the maths of music. That sounds pretty gay. So no, there's nothing wrong with being gay, but I'm starting to understand maybe that there are quite a few words that again it's the back to the language barrier thing. Louis C.K.'s done bits about it. Obviously, it doesn't mean the word to him. The word faggot doesn't actually mean you're a faggot, but it's very hard to come up with a word that has the same meaning to you if you've only got one, and it obviously doesn't mean the thing that it means to some people. So it's all down to interpretation. Okay. Yeah, it was whatever. Not interested. Trying to live in the now is like a cat trying to grab a laser dot. God, this is proper mumbo jumbo here. I hated the dance scene with the dwarf in Snow White and the Huntsman. Oh yeah, Snow White and the Huntsman. Basically leading him on. It's nice that and then putting quotes, it's nice that she's dancing with him, but obviously she'll end up with the handsome huntsman. Yeah, I just kind of hated that thing where it's just like, oh look, she's dancing with the dwarf character and he obviously fancies her, but really we all know that. I don't know. These were just random things that annoyed me. Hated the TripAdvisor advert where the owl voice doesn't even remotely sync with the beak movement. Okay, that's great. Thanks for letting yourself know about that, Ollie. Some things I wanted to watch. The Buddhists were certainly onto something with happiness comes from within. It might actually be change, not happiness, but whatever. Unfortunately, happiness doesn't come from within, but it certainly should, and so we would be best off making it that way. But again, going back to the thing I said ages ago about how is it worth the effort? May you be happy and bring happiness to others. May you be happy by bringing happiness to others. Be a good way to live, of course, if you can be bothered to do it, which I don't think I can. Delightful interaction between customer and shopkeeper. Oh, this is just a little piece of crap sketch thing about people saying please after everything, and then eventually didn't say please, and it's perfectly pleasant conversation turns into a very hostile or something like that. Anyway, whenever I see an attractive girl, I get a strong feeling of attraction and admiration and desire, but all these emotions are always immediately followed by a strong feeling of anger at the fact that they are based on looks alone. I get even more angry that other people feel exactly the same way, and I can see it on their faces and in their eyes. Who does it benefit that I don't and can't feel the same way about all women, regardless of their appearance? But then, of course, that leads you to say that, well, the only reason you wouldn't base someone on their appearance is because you think their character is more important. And I guess that there's kind of something to that in that you spend time with someone's character, not with their appearance. But, well, you spend time with both. But so you'd be making a more long-term decision. But also, really, the point is that you think it means something more. And I guess again, that comes back to the argument I was just making. But my point is, that's also just a matter of genetics and the way they've been brought up, which is also out of their control. No free will. Thank you. No free will. Goodbye. Right. Why do we care so much if people commit suicide? Again, it comes down to subjective experience. Some people say it's sad, but this is clearly erroneous because it is a thing. It doesn't have emotions. It might well be true. That it would make you feel sad, but the actual act is inanimate. And if it makes someone feel sad, why is that? It might well be that we simply regret making such a loss in our investment of our time and attention. These were points about the house. Yeah. Everybody's goal in life should be to be happy. It's easy to assume that you can then subsidize this goal into other goals that you believe will lead to achieving that main goal. Unfortunately, it can always be guaranteed that these new goals, such as fame and wealth, overshadow the true goal and distract it. This is like proper mumbo jumbo, but it's not coming from a place of bullshit. Although it is. So you know what? Yeah. Knowing this, whatever we do should be done with the intention of achieving long-term happiness. Basically, never take your eyes off the prize, I guess, is the moral there. The latest Sam Harris podcast about becoming a better person was highly informative. Okay, my concerns about only being attracted to generically attractive people may be worth tackling head on. One of my characteristics that I could work to improve would be trying to find the best in people. Right now this phrase repulses me. Perhaps I should try to be more tolerant of things like that also. Other areas of improvement would be not wanting to not be alive, not being jealous, having drive/ambition, be less judgmental. Then again, all these things require effort. Being dead, on the other hand, would not. I'm also highly skeptical of how easily one can hope to change their neurobiology and subsequently neurochemistry. This was a dream I had. It was a weird dream. I believe it may be true that people who conduct scientific studies may be prone to believing, e.g. drugs, to be effective in spite of insufficient evidence, simply by being the person conducting the experiment. I felt myself feeling this way about my ginger study, and liking the experience to people cooking for themselves, experiencing the food to be more tasty than if it had been prepared by someone else. When I say believe, I mean actually believe, in a way that would make a placebo effect far more likely to occur. So I guess people who come up with natural remedies probably really do believe that they work for them because they get a strong placebo effect because they will subconsciously want to believe it, I suppose. My perfect life. I'm happy. I'm in love with a woman who worships me and whom I worship even more. I'm constantly amazed by and reminded of the brilliant things her mind and body can and do, and she with mine. I am likewise constantly reminded of my own brilliance. I create a conscious AGI capable of experiences that make our own seem comically insignificant in comparison. Then I die. So that was the two perfect lives there. But in reality, I don't think either of them are going to happen without significant effort on my part, or actually even possible. So that's why I think I should probably just give up. Universe as a giant brain sending information from planet to planet, neurons, or galaxy to galaxy at the speed of light, except not binary, can send works of art, words, sentences, music, anything. What the fuck was I talking about here? See, if I thought I was onto anything, I really should have been more literate, or more, put it into more words. That's literally what okay. What does the midbrain do? Oh, that's just something I should have looked up, but I didn't. Another dream. I had a dream about some kind of gunfight, possibly taking place at. I'll read this out. Word for word. Possibly taking place at a logistically inaccurate Bushy Manor car park / playground. Someone who I knew to be evil, but don't know why, was shooting at us. Two sides, with adults and children. So I was on one side, and there were another group of adults and children on the other side. I shoot back and hit a child. I felt immediate remorse, despite knowing it was a risk, and prepared to. Despite knowing it was a risk. Well, I don't think that makes sense. I'm prepared to shoot myself, but get brought to tears and can't do it. And then of course people will say, "Oh, that's exactly what happened in real life." But I just don't think. Bringing back onto reality, you're not really your actual self in a dream, are you? Okay, when I just sit thinking, staring into space for a long while, I do actually think about various potential occurrences, or trying to find solutions to problems, or answer important existential questions. But often I'll think about how I would respond if people asked me what I was thinking about. For example, just now, not just now, but when I was writing this, I was thinking about whether it would be feasible to buy the holiday home we are currently staying in when we are forced to sell our house, and whether it would be possible to give Jake a proper education and eventually go to Orphan Boys whilst having a normal childhood, friends he sees regularly, etc. But after a while I found myself enjoying the fact that I was just sat thinking things through. Well, that's messed everything right up there. Got a call in the middle of that. Don't know where I was up to, don't know how it will work, whether it will... Okay, but after a while I found myself enjoying the fact that I was just sat thinking things through when all around me were engrossed on their phones, etc. I started to envision and like the idea of people saying he'd often just sit in silence and think. Of course, the implication... Yes, of course, except I spelled it. Implication. The implication being that I was thinking about deep, important things. But as soon as these thoughts entered my mind, I was aware that I was no longer thinking in this way. And then I was led to ponder how I would respond if someone asked me what I was thinking about right that moment. And then I'd have to say I was thinking about how people would talk about me thinking about things. But then this thought meant that I'd have to tell them that I was actually thinking about how I'd respond if they asked me this very question. And when this realization happens, there's a very strange awareness that seems to switch on and off rapidly. I am living in a dream world where they've asked me what I'm thinking about, and this feels only very minutely separate from the real world, where it feels as if there's a very real possibility that they will ask that very question. Okay, this does not convert to audible speech at all. The transition between the two worlds is almost seamless, and I notice it only retrospectively. Wow. I mean, it sounds so. I'm just in essence, what I wanted to say was, whenever I think about things, I always eventually end up in a point where I think, oh, I realise I'm thinking about something, and then I wonder what I imagine myself someone asking me what am I thinking about, and of course then I'd have to say I'm thinking about people asking me what I'm thinking about, and then that's obviously just a thought as well. So then that becomes the thing that if someone did come and ask me, I'd have to tell them that. Never fucking mind. Does it? Oh, Jesus Christ. Alternatives give you... okay. The film Lucy is a crime against science and logic. That was worth writing down, apparently. Information, brackets, subjective experience, comma, evolution of all else was just coincidence, in the sense that they occurred because they did and had no reason to do otherwise, i.e. occur differently or not occur at all. Oh, that was my plan, I guess. Right, people have postulated that love and community, etc. are the meaning of life. Or more scientific suggestions include reproduction and passing on favourable genes. Energy has also been believed to be the driving force of the universe. In truth, I believe information is the lowest common denominator of all, provided you are working with the right definition of information. But of course you can make it, if you could make the definition be, it is the driving force, so no matter... Oh, God. Wish I was dead. I would suggest that energy is a form of information, but I will submit that the arguments can be made for the same to be said vice versa. Incorrect use of that phrase, shut up. I maintain that subjective experience is the only thing that matters. Of course, that too is nothing more than an accumulation of information. However, everything preceding and separate from subjective experience are simply occurrences that happened or happen to occur the way they do as a matter of coincidence. So is subjective experience, but never mind. Just as you might spill a packet of Skittles onto a table, you would expect the colours to arrange in some way, and yet that orientation is no more significant than any other, except perhaps to us as subjective perceivers who project meaning from within. Our universe has evolved the way it has because it did, and had no reason to do otherwise. By looking for meaning in the fabric of the universe, we are... excuse me. Consider yourself excused, sir. Our universe has evolved the way it... Well, okay. Well, let's just live in Rudeville. Population noise people. Our universe has evolved the way it has because it did, and had no reason to do otherwise. By looking for meaning in the fabric of the universe, we are trying to compatibilize... not a word, two distinct and entirely unrelated and incompatible phenomena. I am open to the idea that information is not the final frontier. It is not unfathomable that something unfathomable exists. It is not unfathomable that something unfathomable exists beyond my comprehension, hence its unfathomability. Just as people believe there could be nothing smaller than an atom, nothing more fundamental than energy. There's nothing more. I'm saying there's nothing more fundamental information, but I'm just a lonely little piece of shit. Lowly little, not lonely. I'm not lonely. I'm very, very, very lonely too. Okay. This was an attempt to explain why your subjective experience is everything. Have you ever donated to charity? Yes. Do you imagine that money went to a child? Do you imagine that money went to a child or person in need in some way? Yes. Would you have given money to that charity if you knew that the money never actually went to an impoverished person, but just to some greedy rich fellow? No. What if I told you all the money you have ever given to charity has gone to that very rich fellow, and in fact, that impoverished person you imagine has been dead for 20 years? If you believe me, would you ever give to charity again? The only thing that has changed is your perception of reality. It makes no difference what really happens, only what you believe to be reality. Phrased like that, it's hard not to get in bed with the mumbo jumbo psychic morons. But please take nothing out of context. Okay, okay, it's starting to go from I want to kill myself because there's nothing for me to live for, in the sense that there's no experiences that are worth the efforts that are required to get there. But it's starting to move more towards the things I'm saying anger me so much. If I was someone else, I'd want to kill them. I've just remembered how debilitating it was when I wouldn't write down my thoughts, because it made me so angry that there were so many that were extremely valuable to me, but I couldn't remember even the slightest detail of. And I spelled no new thought with a K. No new thought would ever come close to it. If it somehow felt as if to start recording my thoughts would have given credence and validity to my fears, and any good thoughts I'd had, there must have at least been one, were truly in vain. Oh yeah, this was some kind of horrible dinner thing. Someone was offering pudding and said, "And that's peach parfait." And I said, "Is that French for pitch perfect?" Although I probably should have said something cleverer than that. But I got no response whatsoever, and I thought it deserved at least some acknowledgement. Why the fuck have I written this down? What does the perfect life look like? What does the perfect life feel like? Freedom, but one thing I think I eventually got to. Freedom, but engagement. So you're free to do anything, but always doing something. You're free to do anything, but always doing something. However, does not exclude freedom to do nothing. So long as you are engaged with the nothingness. I suppose the closest one comes to this in the natural world is the attractive genius. If enlightenment is possible, then yes, that is ideal. However, if enlightenment gave existence meaning, then its perpetuation would be of the utmost importance, and so defending it would be critical, and so external forces would be potential risk factors. So the traditional idea of pacifism being a natural development of enlightenment is flawed. Either an enlightened existence is no better than not existing at all, which would imply that an unenlightened existence is worse than no existence at all, and therefore, given that enlightenment would require investment of time and effort, suicide is the more efficient option. Or an enlightened existence has intrinsic value, in which case all steps must be taken to maximize its longevity, which would obviously include prevention of death. Soz, burning monk guy. Of course, the Buddha believes, at least I believe he believes, that there is no such thing as non-existence, to which I say, fuck off, you stupid cunt. If that were the case, then why don't I remember my past life, or when I was a speck of sand, if you believe consciousness pervades all matter? You may say, I just don't remember it. But if that's the case, what does it matter if it's true or not? If there's no information transferred, there's no value. Exercise to become happy. If I were happy in this... Oh, this was an exercise to become happy. If I were happy in this moment, how would I feel? If I were happy right now, how would I feel? Exercise is to try and feel rather than just think the word happy. Right now, in bed, I'd be warm, content, and excited to wake up in the morning because of all the things I could do. I'd probably have something specific in mind. The feeling is childlike in nature, so perhaps it's Christmas tomorrow, or maybe I'm sleeping over at a friend's tonight, and we've got lots planned for tomorrow. Sadly, doesn't work. Number of connections, both if you count... if you count one as connecting... I have no idea what that point was, so I wrote that point at 1:06 in the morning, and I have no recollection of what I was trying to get down. I wonder if understanding the disease makes your body more likely to recover from it. Doctors don't seem to be ill as often as they should. Maybe their immune systems have adapted. Maybe ... Understanding the mechanics of their disease allows their subconscious to better fight their... Okay, now that is mumbo jumbo to the highest degree, to the bullshittiest degree. A degree in bullshit. that's not what to the highest degree means. Anyway, violence is only justifiable. Oh God, there's so many things you have to cover with language. It's so messy. I think this is why, because the less I talk with people, I've always thought that I thought in words. When I find myself not talking to people for a while, I do find my brain kind of takes shortcuts and stops using actual words and just kind of thinks in abstract ways that you can't put into words afterwards, and it's more efficient. But obviously we can't transmit thoughts that way. So we only have speech and expressions and whatnot. Okay, violence is only justifiable if it prevents worse violence. This may sound too difficult to assess in most scenarios, but it is quite clear in many aspects, such as it is almost never acceptable to hit a child. Self-defense, on the other hand, makes total sense. In truth, it is only when the overall amount of violence is reduced, but it's hard to quantify violence in a way that makes this interpretation easy to get one's head around. So basically, violence, no, unless you're using it to reduce the net violence outcome. Okay, yeah, it's quite easy to see how good in the long run. It's quite easy to see how good people can be made to commit atrocities if they believe they are doing it for a good cause, communism being a prime example. I think it's hard to deny that in an ideal world, communism, or at least a more communistic ideology, would be attainable. However, in practice it has proved impossible to enforce, largely due to human nature and our intrinsic self-interest. And so it should be obvious that people can be made to believe, rightly in some respects, that they are working towards a better cause. However, the means that always end up being taken never justify the end. It should also be easy to see how easy it is to point out the obvious flaws in the capitalist system we know so well. Much as we might vilify communism as an ideology by addressing the atrocities committed in its name, the very same people could point to the hideous conditions of sweatshops that are not so far from slave labour. Even though this is not truly representative of the capitalist ideology, most people with an optimistic view of capitalism propose that anyone who is prepared to work hard can succeed. But even overlooking the fact that a person's capacity to work hard is not up to them, but merely the result of their genes and upbringing, it should be clear that the single mother raising 3 children whilst working 3 jobs, who makes barely enough to put food on the table, is working far harder than the millionaire oil tycoon who inherited the wealth of a lucky investor. And I'm sure most people are all too aware of just how alarming the disparity of wealth is in our perfect society. Thus, people will go to great lengths to try to enforce the idealistic universes they imagine, even though reality is never so ideal. The problem will always be that anyone who wishes to enforce a new system will always be comparing a dream world to their current reality, and you will always be able to imagine something better than what already is. Ultimately, it is human nature that needs to change, not the society that we live in that would change itself. As in, that will change itself if human mentality changes. For fuck's sake, God, it's so annoying. See, this is why I just wanted to get it done, so it's done, okay? Where was I up to? I wonder if my persona lulls women into a false sense of complacency. I believe that my seemingly confident and forward behaviour led them to assume that if I have feelings for them, they needn't worry about letting me know they felt that way first, as it was almost guaranteed that I'd make the first move. Of course, this is not the case, and if people were able to look at the statistics, they would quickly see that the number of women I've actually asked out is a very round number indeed. It's a joke about it being 0. You don't have to. Now I feel bad for it. See, now I regret just saying that. I prefer if people. No one's going to look. There are so many things that every tangent I go on makes me angry. Every single one, every thought tangent, and I go on all of them. And I can't stop myself because then I haven't gone on the tangent, and it's. Okay, let's carry on because there are loads left apparently. After spending a long day bodyboarding at the beach, when trying to go to sleep, I feel as though I'm bobbing up and down on the waves. This prompts me to think about bodyboarding a little, but doesn't subside if I stop. Presumably, this is my brain rehearsing certain neural pathways to strengthen them. And I remember whenever I used to dream about video games, I'd notice a remarkable improvement in my skill level the next time I played. Wow, that's revolutionary. Perhaps the reason there seems to be a correlation between people who have one boundlessly loving parent and one rather cold and harsh parent and genius is because they learn to seek love because they know how good it feels to receive from one parent and try absolutely anything to get the same love from the other. They know that when they achieve something good, or that represents intelligence in their parents' eyes, then they receive love and affection from one parent who congratulates them wholeheartedly and subliminally believe that the same will be true for the other if they only achieve something more and more impressive. And of course, children with 2 unequivocally loving parents receives the rewards of love and appraisal no matter what they do. so are never required to push themselves to greater heights. Da Vinci, Tesla. Actually, I think Tesla had two pretty loving parents, really. I seem to remember his dad was a pretty great guy, but actually I can't remember. I know his dad was very smart in that he knew the Bible off by heart, but I seem to remember there's also a story about him sitting on a log or something and teaching him to imagine things in his head, which obviously Tesla was alluding to that being the source of his magical powers. Not really magic, I'm just God. I actually think there may be something in this to help solve my enjoyment problem. I get the feeling that in their adulthood, people seem to relive the moments from their childhood that they learn to be of the greatest joy and celebration. Of course, a child is for the most part a clean slate in terms of understanding what should be celebrated and what not. So they look to their parents for guidance. I think this might be why so many people claim to love travelling, because when they were children, or at least when they were old enough to form memories about what they were learning, going travelling was always a big occasion, and parents love to excite children by telling them they're going away on holiday, of course. Of course, they only know to get excited if the parents act excited themselves, so I suppose I should be seeking to remember the moments from my childhood that were surrounded with the greatest sense of excitement, joy and celebration. Alas, none of them seem to appeal to me now. In fact, I can't seem to remember any. Actually, I think I can remember some. It's like usually sporting things, but I'm because of the whole existential thing, sport is pretty much the first thing to go out the window in terms of even though I'm someone who believes that subjective experience is everything, I can't make myself feel enough that the meaninglessness of sport is actually meaningful because of what it means to me. But I can't. It's an endless cycle. I can't. Fuck. God, I hate language, man. It's so shit. Okay, almost done now. Loyalty breeds stupidity. Loyalty breeds ignorance. Two things I just wrote there. Don't really mean anything, except they do, but can't be bothered to extrapolate. Pride inherited is kind of greedy and disingenuous. You didn't do it. You're no more entitled to be proud of it than anyone else, really. You can appreciate it, but not take credit for it. So I guess I'm just saying pride is the wrong word. At least in theory, written law is humanity's best attempt at creating a practical, implementable morality. Maybe we can offer a primitive solution to the alignment problem by using the law, which I realise is far from perfect, not even close to uniform around the globe, as a basis for how an AGI should aim to behave towards humans. Of course, there would be a huge number of loopholes due to the law being written with humans in mind, not to mention how the law doesn't always work for humans anyway. I think that's a dead end, really, that whole thing. Given we can gather no evidence about what the afterlife is like, or whether it exists at all, P.S. it doesn't, we must ascribe equal probabilities to all possibilities, sort of. Even though that's not true, because, we have this reality and you can make some assumptions about, we can infer that it's probably a little bit more likely that it's just like what it was like before we existed. Fuck. Okay, we must describe it we must assume that a good afterlife is just as likely as a terrible one, and seeing as all good interpretations can be paired with an equally bad interpretation, the result has to be neutral. And seeing as there is also many reasons to believe there is no such thing as an alternative afterlife in the traditional sense of the word, we must also add extra weight to the quote-unquote neutral. Ultimately, no assumptions can be made about the afterlife because the net possibilities are neutral due to them cancelling each other out. Glad you clarified that, Ollie. Right, I'm fucking done, and I am fucking done as well. 28 minutes of absolute wastage, but now I can say it's done, and hopefully some tangents will be cut off. Right, bye.